Subscribe to Man Told for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. My wife handed me the divorce papers, right when I was about to give her our 10-year anniversary gift. The box was still in my coat pocket. Inside, a silver bracelet. I had carved the 3 initials of our family on it. I thought she would smile. I thought we'd remember the years we went through. But instead of a smile, she gave me 4 words that cut me open. A real man. She said she needed one. That line fell on the dinner table like a knife, and it ended 10 years in a single breath. Dinner was still steaming. The meat slowly turned cold. The clock kept ticking. Every tick hit me right in the chest. I sat there, fork in hand, but I couldn't eat a single bite. Memories rushed back. Her hug the night before our wedding. Our daughter's laughter over pizza on a rainy night. The time I held her tight on the balcony, afraid to lose her. All of it gone, like it never happened. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just sat there, looking at the gift I never gave. It felt cold in my pocket, cold like her hand that night. Maybe I had already lost her long ago. Tonight was only the death notice of our marriage, and I didn't know it was just the beginning of a nightmare that lasted almost a year. My name is Devin. I'm 38. I live in a small town in Ohio. Here, people still greet each other on the street, and news travels faster than the wind. I run a mid-sized construction company, not rich, but enough so my family never had to worry. My days start at 5 in the morning. I drive my old pickup, black coffee in hand, heading to the job site. The smell of cement, the hammer, the saw. That's the soundtrack of my life. I love seeing a house rise from a blueprint. It's proof I can build something solid, something that lasts. I married Mara after 4 years of dating. On our wedding night, under the yellow lights in her parents' backyard, I remember thinking, this is the woman I'll hold for the rest of my life. We had a daughter, Ella. She's 14 now. Her eyes are her mother's. Her spirit, mine. Quiet. A little stubborn. She's the center of my universe. I once promised her, as long as you have a happy childhood, I'll carry every burden out there. And for years, I believed I kept that promise. Our family wasn't fancy, but we had our little rituals. Friday nights, pizza and old movies. During baseball season, Ella and I would shout at the screen. Whenever Cleveland scored, sometimes Mara joined us. But little by little, she stopped staying. Mara was sharp, brilliant with people. She worked at an ad agency. Cocktail parties, polished events, handshakes and champagne. That world never fit me. I'd stand in the corner, beer can in hand, listening more than talking. Mara, on the other hand, she shined. She laughed. She lit up the room. At first, that difference drew me in. But as the years passed, it felt like we lived in 2 different worlds. I wasn't a perfect husband either. I missed Ella's 10th birthday because a project ran late. I came home tired, snapped at Mara, left her eating dinner alone. I kept telling myself, as long as I work hard, as long as I bring home the money, they'll understand. But I forgot. Sometimes, what a woman needs isn't money, it's your presence. The cracks came quietly, and I ignored them. Mara stayed out later. Her phone lit up with texts. Then she'd delete them fast. At dinner, when Ella asked, "What's wrong with Mom?" I'd brush it off. "She's just busy, honey." I thought it was a phase, that after a trip, an anniversary, things would go back to the way they were. I even planned a secret beach trip for the summer. I thought, if I showed her I still cared, she'd come back to us. But the truth was, while I was planning a memory, she was planning an ending. Outside of town, I had one special place, the cabin my father left me. He used to take me fishing there in the summers. A small wooden house, a fireplace, old photos, and the smell of damp wood soaked into the walls. That cabin, it felt like an anchor. Whenever I was too tired, I'd drive out there, sit alone, listen to the wind cut through the trees. I never thought, one day, it would become the only shelter for me and my daughter. After everything collapsed, looking back, my life was like a wall that looked solid, but underneath, full of cracks, and I just kept patching the surface, never checking the foundation. Until that night, the wall came crashing down in a single moment. I thought I had it all. A family, a home, a career. But the truth was, nothing ever really belonged to me. And from that shaky foundation, the first tremor began. After the night Mara gave me the divorce papers, I lived in a haze, half awake, half numb. By day, I still held blueprints, still talked to workers, still answered client calls. But inside, empty, like a house with no frame. The hammer, the saw, the mixer, all of it sounded like distant noise. One evening, while Mara was in the shower, her phone lit up on the kitchen counter. I wanted to ignore it, but the glow cut through the dark, and my eyes couldn't look away. The message said, "I miss you. Room 214, same as always." I froze. My heart pounded heavy. I didn't unlock it. Didn't take a picture. I just watched the words fade as the screen went black. Like they never existed. But they stayed, burned into me. Tuyen for. Mara came out. Hair wet. That warm shampoo scent I once loved. I kept my voice steady. "Someone texted you." Her eyes flickered. She grabbed the phone, slipped it into her robe. "Just a coworker. Don't overthink." I nodded. But in my head, one question echoed. What kind of coworker books a hotel room? After that, I began to notice things. Things I had chosen not to see. She came home later. Her perfume, stronger, heavier. It lingered down the hallway. At dinner, she'd place her phone face down, but her fingers kept brushing the screen when she thought I wasn't looking. One night, after Ella went upstairs, I asked, "Where were you last night?" I called. Mara set her spoon down, her eyes sharp. "With a friend?" "Why, you don't trust me." I swallowed hard. "I just worry." "Worry? Or control?" Her voice cut like ice. "You always think you're right. Always want things your way. I'm tired, Devin." Her words left me speechless. For years, I thought I was the provider, the one holding us up. But to her, I was just a cage. I turned to Ella. She sat frozen, hands twisting a napkin, eyes glistening. That look pierced me deeper than her words. The next day, at work, an email from the bank. A charge, $3,800 to Blue Harbor Consulting. I'd never heard of it. A day later, won $200 at Lux Spaces. I knew that place. Luxury furniture downtown. We once joked about it. "How much do you think a chair costs?" "Gold plating." We laughed together then. Now, it was no joke. I didn't confront her. I wanted to believe there was a reason, but unease kept bubbling, like water finding cracks underground. That weekend, we went to Ella's school play. She stood on stage, hair tied back, voice clear as glass. Some houses look strong, but one rain, and the roof leaks. I sat frozen. Hearing my daughter describe my own home, I looked at Mara. She smiled, clapped with the crowd, but her eyes were far away. We took a family photo after the play. Later, when I looked at it, my smile was cracked, like a fracture in glass. That night, Mara was showering. Her phone buzzed again. Email open on the screen. Phase 2. Payment confirmed. Blue Harbor Consulting. $6,200. I stared. Couldn't believe it. She walked out, saw me holding the phone. "Explain," I said, my voice trembling. But firm. She dried her hair. "Calm. Too calm? Blue Harbor is counseling. I need to find myself again." "Counseling? 10 grand? At hotels?" My voice rose. Her eyes, cold steel. "Devin, you don't get it. I've been trapped in this marriage too long." I went silent. The kitchen dimmed, though every light was on. I started writing everything down. The charges, the emails, the late-night messages. I didn't even know why. Maybe just to prove I wasn't losing my mind. One night, sorting boxes in the garage, I found an old shoebox. Inside, photos. Our wedding. The beach trip. Ella laughing at the neighbor's dog. On top, a card Mara once wrote, "Thank you for staying, even when things got hard." I sat on the floor, that card shaking in my hand. Her thank you now felt like a knife. For the first time in years, I cried, and I couldn't stop. Ella opened the door. "Dad, what's wrong?" I wiped fast, forced a smile. "Nothing, honey. Just tired." She sat beside me, her small hand on my shoulder. "Dad, are you sad?" I swallowed, nodded. "Yeah, but I'll be okay." That was the first lie I ever told her. A few days later, a twist. On the way to school, Ella whispered, "Dad, don't tell Mom." But I saw her with a man. They got in a car together. Inside me, shattered glass. But I didn't blame her. I forced a smile. "Thank you for telling me. Don't worry, I'll take care of it." But truth is, I had no idea how. That night, I found the courage. I wrote a note. 4 conditions. Stop all Blue Harbor payments. No more raising credit limits without me. Go to marriage counseling. Tell the truth. I slid the paper across the table. Mara read it. Took the pen. Crossed out the first 2. No. Up to me. She left the 3rd blank. And on the 4th, she wrote 1 word. Unnecessary. I stared at it, my chest caving in. That night, I didn't go to bed. I sat on the porch. The sky was dark. Wind slipped through the trees. The neighbor's flag hung limp. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and whispered to myself, "Stay calm. Ella's watching. Don't break." But deep inside, I knew I wasn't just losing my wife. I was losing myself, right in front of my daughter's eyes. After the night she crossed out my conditions, the house stopped feeling like home. Dinner was the 3 of us around the table, but the only sound was silverware against porcelain. Ella tried to smile, tried to talk about school, but her voice trembled. Mara ate a few bites, then stood, work, urgent, and walked out. The food was still hot, but the chair beside me stayed cold. One night, I cooked a full meal. Roast, mashed potatoes, her favorite salad, lit candles, hoping soft light might soften the mood. Mara glanced at it, shook her head. "I'm not hungry," grabbed her bag, and left. The roast went cold. The candles died out. I sat there with Ella, watching her force each bite down, just to comfort me. Many nights I drove home late. From a distance, the living room light still on, a flicker of hope. But when I opened the door, only Ella, curled up under a blanket. Eyes on the TV, the mother's chair empty. She looked up at me, softly said, "Mom's gone again, Dad." Light words, but they cut me, like a dull knife to the chest. Time passed. The distance grew wider. I tried once. "Maybe we go fishing this weekend." Like before, her answer stunned me. "You think fishing will fix this? You're always stuck in the past." "I'm not." I went quiet. To me, the past was roots. To her, chains. What shook me most were the numbers. That month, the statement showed 850, Rosewood Inn, a luxury hotel outside town. I remembered the text. Room 214. I pictured her, walking in with him. No proof, but imagination was enough to destroy me. I stayed silent, but silence burned too. One night, Mara exploded. "You're punishing me with silence, making me guilty with your eyes." I stared at my glass, said nothing, because words meant nothing by then. Ella became our mirror. One morning, before school, she asked, "Dad, do you hate Mom?" I swallowed, held my voice steady. "No, honey, I don't hate her. I'm just sad." She nodded, turned away, but in the window's reflection, I saw her tears fall. The twist came on a Friday afternoon. I left work early, stopped by our usual cafe, picked up pastries for Ella, then froze. In the corner, Mara, with a tall man in a gray suit. They leaned close, laughing, a laugh I hadn't heard from her in months. The bag slipped from my hand, hit the floor. Mara looked up, startled, but not guilty, annoyed, as if I was the intruder. The man stared at me, cold, silent. I turned, walked out, hands crushing the steering wheel white. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my old truck, radio on. The song that played was the one from our first trip after marriage. I shut it off. Like even music betrayed me. I dropped my head onto the wheel and cried loud. For the first time in years, I let it all out. My sobs echoed through the dark garage, a stranger's voice, but it was mine. The next morning, I tried one last time. I made a list of marriage counselors, wrote down names, handed them to her. "If there's anything left to save, let's try." She glanced, placed the paper back down, said nothing. Her silence weighed more than a straight no. Tension kept rising. A week later, my credit card was declined at the gas station. I checked. The limit drained. A large cash withdrawal. The same day, Mara claimed she was away for work. I sank onto the steps, statement in hand, numb. When she came home, I showed her. She shrugged. "I need freedom. If you won't give it, I'll take it myself." I said nothing. That night, Ella handed me a drawing. 3 figures. A man and a girl standing together. A woman walking away on another road. She whispered, "I just drew what I see." I pulled her close, tears streaming again. Then, another twist. The next morning, driving Ella to school, I opened Mara's car to grab her jacket. On the back seat, a lighter, gold-plated, engraved, R. Call. I'd never seen it before. My hand shook. I pocketed it, said nothing. That small lighter was a bomb in my head, proof of another man. That night, I sat on the porch, the street swallowed by dark. Inside, I heard zippers, suitcases dragged across the floor. Mara was packing. I didn't chase, didn't beg. I just sat, lighter clutched in my hand. When the door shut behind her, I whispered to myself, I don't know if I just lost my wife, or my whole family. The wind cut across the porch, cold. Her coat still hung in the closet, empty. The house still stood. But I knew. The roof leaked, the walls cracked, and inside me, there was no home left. I thought I'd hit bottom. The night Mara rolled her suitcase out the door. But that was only the beginning. The edge of a deeper pit. The day she left, the house felt hollow. The sound of suitcase wheels, still echoing long after the door shut. I sat in the living room, listening to the clock tick. Each second dry, empty. Ella clutched her teddy bear, her eyes on me. Dad, is Mom coming back? I couldn't answer. 2 days later, another blow. When I picked Ella up, her teacher pulled me aside. Maybe you should see this, she said. On the desk, a drawing. Ella had drawn her mother, holding the hand of a tall man, and herself, standing apart, crying. Underneath, scrawled words, Mom and Mr. R. My chest locked. Mr. R. I thought of the gold lighter. R. K. It all fit. That night, I flipped the lighter open. Blue flame danced in the dark. Memory hit me. A company party. Mara once rushed a quick introduction. Richard Kent, head of finance. Back then, I didn't care. Now, every piece fell into place. R. K. I couldn't stand the not knowing. One night, I drove to Rosewood Inn. The name had haunted me. Since room 214. My heart pounded as I stepped inside. At the desk, I asked, Richard Kent, is he here? The receptionist hesitated, then answered, Mr. Kent, room 214. I stood at the door. 214. Cold white. The last wall hiding the truth. From inside, laughter. Mara's voice. And a man's, low, rough. The sound scraped my chest raw. My hand gripped the doorknob, shaking. I could burst in, but my legs turned to stone. Because I knew, if I opened that door, there'd be nothing left to hold on to. So I turned and ran, like a coward. But fate doesn't let you hide for long. 2 days later, Mara called. Devon, we need to talk. Her voice steady. Notre amour. No excuse. We met in a small cafe, dim yellow light. The smell of bitter coffee thick in the air. She sat across from me, eyes straight, no hesitation. Devon, she said. Richard and I, we're together. There's nothing left to hide. The cup in my hand trembled. Coffee spilled across the table. I didn't blink, but my heart stopped. I had guessed, but hearing her say it was lightning to the chest. And this family, and Ella? My voice cracked. Mara's reply was firm. Ella needs a happy mother, not one pretending. I wanted to slam the table, to scream, but Ella's face came back to me. Her eyes during our fights, her quiet tears. I forced myself to breathe. If that's your choice, I won't stop you. But don't make our daughter pay. Mara lowered her head, silent, then stood. Her footsteps faded. I sat alone, in a crowded cafe, with a wet napkin and a shattered heart. I thought that was the end. But days later, a thick envelope arrived. From the courthouse, divorce papers, and with them, her petition for custody of Ella. The reason printed in black and white. Emotionally unstable father, unfit for full-time care. I collapsed on the steps, pages in my hands, the wind flipping them like mockery. Losing my wife was one thing, but now I was about to lose my daughter. That night, the house was deathly quiet. I walked into Ella's room. Her bed still smelled of her shampoo. Her teddy bear tilted on the pillow. On her desk, an open notebook. Inside, a sketch of 3 figures. Me, ella, and a blank space. I sat, held the notebook, tears soaking the page. In the dark, I whispered, I thought I was fighting for a marriage, but I'm really fighting not to lose my soul. My daughter, Outside, wind rattled the cracked window. In this house that once held three voices, only one remained, the heavy breath of a man brought to his knees. The first day in court, I heard Mara's heels clicking on the marble floor. Her perfume drifted past me. Once it warmed me. Now, it was just proof she belonged to another world. Beside her, Richard, sharp suit, straight tie. His hand rested on her back. A touch I knew too well, a claim of possession. I sat across the aisle, hands crushing the folder until the pages wrinkled. The judge's voice was gravel. Reading the case file, Mara stood, her tone flat, steady. Devon is quick to anger, unstable. I fear for Ella's safety. Each word landed like a pebble dropped in my chest. Heavy. Building. My lawyer lifted photos. Me driving Ella to school, flipping pancakes, pushing her on the porch swing. I turned to see Ella behind me, teddy bear in her arms, eyes wide, flicking between mother and father. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. In that moment, all I wanted was to stand, to hold her tight. But the cold rules of court nailed me to the chair. The trial dragged on, point for point, word for word. But in my head, only the clink of a coffee spoon on a small cafe table, the sound of a marriage ending. I wanted to shout my memories, the nights I carried Ella, burning with fever, the times I skipped meals, so Mara could have more. But court doesn't take memories, only evidence. When it ended, I stepped into the hallway, cold, endless. Richard was there. He smirked. She chose me. You should accept it. Blood rushed to my face. My fist tightened. I almost swung. But then, ella, at the far end, walking out with a court officer. Her eyes uncertain. I breathed deep, unclenched my hand, turned away. My daughter needed a father who could hold back, not a man who lost control. The days after blurred into papers, evidence, lawyers. I built a rigid routine. Up at 5, coffee. Pack Ella's lunch. At night, cook dinner. Take photos. Save everything. Every step had one purpose. Prove to the court I was a father she could trust. Then came the day at school. I pulled up to find Mara waiting by the car. Richard buckled Ella's seatbelt. Easy now, Ella. His voice soft. Too soft. Too false. I walked up, my voice tight. Get your hands off my daughter. Mara cut in. You're scaring her. I clenched my jaw. Stared at Richard. He stared back. Neither of us moved. Ella sat between, her small hands trembling. Eyes down. That night, Ella broke. She sobbed into her pillow. I hate choosing. I just want both mom and dad. I sat beside her, ran my hand through her hair. Each sob a needle in my chest. Because the one truly broken wasn't me, it was her. The second hearing was worse. Mara's lawyer presented a report. The night I smashed a glass, after money vanished. I couldn't deny it. And to the court, that was proof I couldn't control my anger. My head dropped, the weight crushing. Then, my lawyer placed letters on the table, written in Ella's hand. Childlike, uneven. Daddy, I miss you. I want to be home, where mornings smell like pancakes, where the porch swing waits for us. Silence filled the room. Pages rustled. Someone's breath caught. Mara turned away. Richard frowned. And then, the hook. Ella, sitting on the bench, whispered, Dad. But her eyes looked at Richard. The room froze. So did I. Ella gasped, clutched her bear. No, I didn't mean, I'm sorry. Her tears spilled. My chest felt crushed by a steel hand. She was too tangled, too lost. The judge ended with a temporary ruling. Shared custody. Alternating. For most, a compromise. For me, a knife. Because I knew this was no longer about a marriage. It was about my soul. About holding on to my daughter. That night, I drove Ella home. She fell asleep in the back seat. I carried her to bed, laid her down gently. Her teddy slipped to the floor. I picked it up, held it close. The fabric still smelled of her. I sat on the porch, streetlight stretching my shadow across the concrete. The wind carried the smell of night grass. The house behind me felt hollow, once filled with 3 voices. Now only one remained, mine. The weary breath of a man brought low. I whispered, a vow no one but the dark would hear. I can lose my wife, but I will not lose my child, even if it costs me everything. Every morning, the alarm rang at 5. I got up. The kitchen was dark, only the yellow light above the counter. I brewed coffee, heard the slow drip, smelled pancakes on the pan. Ella sat at the table, hair messy, bare in her arms, still half asleep. She smiled at me, a sleepy smile, but enough to light up the whole kitchen. Moments like that, I realized, they were what kept me standing. The legal fight wasn't over. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew this. I had survived days I thought I couldn't breathe. I hadn't collapsed. Even on nights I sat alone in the dark, wanting to disappear. And I had learned, strength isn't in fists or winning battles. Real strength is this: sitting still, listening to your child cry, wiping her tears, then waking early the next morning to start again. Some nights, when Ella slept, I sat on the porch. The swing creaked in the wind. Mara's face came back, her smile, her hair falling on her shoulders. I used to think, if I lost her, my life was over. But now, with only the empty swing, I felt calm. No more rage, no more blame, just a sigh, and a quiet gratitude that at least I had memories to hold. I also saw a truth I once avoided. Mara didn't leave only because of Richard. Part of it was me. The nights I drowned in work, the times I ignored her small complaints, the moments I thought, she'll understand. I forgot that a woman needs to be heard, needs to be seen. Her betrayal cut deep, but it also held up a mirror. And in that mirror, I saw my own flaws. Oddly, that made me lighter. I no longer hoped she'd return. I only hoped she found what she was chasing. As for me, I had already found what mattered. Ella's eyes, when she held my hand, her small fingers gripping mine, and the silent whisper I heard within it, "Dad, I need you." And that alone was enough. One morning, on the way to school, Ella asked, "Dad, when I grow up, will you still be on the swing, waiting for me?" I laughed, then choked up and nodded. "As long as it takes, I'll be there." She smiled, ran into class, and I stood there, feeling peace I hadn't known in years. Last night, I pulled out the wooden box from my drawer. Inside, the silver bracelet I once meant for Mara. I placed Ella's drawings in there too. Me and her, sitting on the swing, under a sky full of stars. I locked it, not to forget, but to keep, to remind myself, love can change, but a father's love does not. Before bed, I stood by the window. In the glass, our reflection. Me holding Ella, her asleep in my arms. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I whispered. Mara once said she needed a real man. And in the end, it was Ella who taught me how to be one. Outside, morning broke. Light slipped through the window, falling on the porch swing. It creaked in the wind, though no one sat there. And I understood, some spaces will never be filled. But it's those empty spaces that teach us to cherish what we still have. I closed my eyes and smiled.